You're listening to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the community for the best sales and marketing professionals in the aviation industry. You can't learn to fly just from a book. You learn from other pilots who know the tools, the skills, and the territory. Your hosts, John and Paula Williams, are your sales and marketing test pilots. They take the risks for you and share strategies, relevant examples, hacks, and how-tos. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you won't miss a thing.
All right, welcome to this month's book club discussion. This month we're discussing Tribes by Seth Godin, and we have John Williams and Joni Schultz with us, which is fantastic. And Joni, you're the president of the Whirly Girls. So what's up with you guys this month?
Oh wow. Well, we're kind of in our slower time. However, it's not been slow this year because we just launched our brand new website, which has been challenging.
Has it?
Really challenging, yes. Because, well, anytime you migrate information from one, basically, because we're so database oriented on the back side of our website, it was like a big, and we went from a membership type of platform to a WordPress platform. And that was huge. And a lot of things didn't happen as our prior webmaster anticipated because that wasn't really the platform in which she was comfortable or knowledgeable on.
Right.
And so we had a lot of issues. So that's what we've been busy doing. What's exciting for me is I'm actually the monitor of the information email. So when people when anything ever happens, like a payment, a renewal, a donation, a question, anything, even the backup comes from our people that support, and host the website. They send us that information, but I get to see it all. So
nice.
It's kind of exciting to see membership people renewing, and I never saw that before, and so it's exciting.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So busy.
Well, building a website is part of tribal leadership these days, whether you like it or not, I guess. That's funny.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't have the knowledge to build websites, but boy, it's amazing how much you learn through the process of just, making sure it's a test in communication. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. So we're really glad to have you with us, Joni. And of course, I'm Paula Williams, and John Williams is here as well. And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to assist all people out there in the aviation world sell more products and services.
Absolutely. And part of that is building a tribe. So let's start off with just impressions about the book, just general thoughts. Joni, do you want to go first?
I thought it touched on a lot of things, driving it home that it really, as much technology as we have in our world today, it still goes back to the people. And I think this did a really good presentation of that and reminding us that it is about the people and creating passion and excitement.
Absolutely. John?
My take is that it's a different set of words to describe the approach to building a high-performing team.
Right. So your background.
Because basically that's what he's telling you, all these people to get together and do that. And because of the way they tend to go about it, that's what they end up with.
Right. One of the things that I really liked about it was the fact that there's so much resistance to, I'm going to call it relationship selling in aviation, and yet it is the essence of sales in aviation. The people who will tell you that they base all of their decisions on transactional information, a nickel a chicken kind of people, are exactly the ones that are influenced by what their tribe is doing, by what their friends and neighbors and the guy in the hangar who owns another airplane, and people that they see at aviation conventions and other tribal behavior, even though they don't call it that. So.
And what's interesting is, it just occurred to me, I have some folks I am working with whose only marketing is relationship marketing.
Right.
They don't have any website. They don't have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
No sales.
Yeah.
No ads.
So some of the really exclusive people.
It's only through relationship. If you don't know these people, you can't get in. And if you know these people, they will tell you they are the most expensive. And if you can't let the pony up, they can turn you on to some other people for a lesser price.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we were just talking with Joni before we went live, and one of the things that I mentioned to Joni is that, this was a book that when we were picking our books this year, and we had actually already picked them by the time that we knew you were going to be part of our group. But that's one of the things that just made me smile, is because, you actually are the president of an association, which is pretty much the definition of a tribe, right?
It is.
All right.
It is.
Okay, so bookmark number 1, tribes aren't so squishy anymore. This is on page 6. Joni, did you have any thoughts about that one?
Well, going back to my introduction,
Yeah.
what what I said about the overall book in general, the part that I outlined or highlighted, and always my takeaway thing is the sentence that says the real power of tribes has nothing to do with the internet and everything to do with people. You don't need a keyboard to lead. You only need the desire to make something happen. So that was the what I noted out of this particular portion of the book. I in my past, or my first aviation position, was all about relationships. I was an aviation insurance underwriter, and we were all about relationships. We built lifetime relationships with companies and with businesses, because we did corporate aviation. And so I learned early on that it is all about relationships.
Absolutely.
And how you build.
John?
Well, I disagree with, he had a line in it that says everyone is a leader, which is absolutely not true. Everybody may have the ability, and even if they have the ability, it doesn't make them one.
Mm-hmm.
Because without followers, there are no leaders.
Well, I think sometimes people are followers and sometimes they're leaders, right?
Sometimes, but
Right.
that's so rare. You either are a leader or you are not. And if you are not in a position to lead, then you're not a leader, even if you may have the abilities.
That's true. That's kind of like, when we fly into Salt Lake City airspace, obviously you are the better and more experienced pilot, but I learned to fly in the Salt Lake City Bravo. So, we switch off leadership at times because of...
That's aircraft management. That's not being leader.
Well, it is. But we switch off that responsibility because of, who knows most about this particular topic. And I think that's true in a lot of cases. People are followers on topics that they may not know so much about. We're members of a lot of different mastermind organizations, and we are leaders of others. So,
in your particular example, where the aircraft larger and it had an aircraft commander, he or she would be the leader.
True. Agreed. And Joni, just so you know, I underlined exactly the same sentence that you did. Tribes have nothing to do with the internet and everything to do with people. People get so hung up on the technology, and they forget that it's all just a tool for relationships, right?
It absolutely. I mean, because that's what you're just using that, like you say, that tool to create connection.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that, the tribes are connected, or the groups are connected by, various things, whether it be a core mission or a passion or, whatever, love of something,
Right?
depending on what it is, what kind of group it is.
Absolutely. So bookmark number 2, the F word on page 42. This is the F word you think it might be.
Yeah, I know. I love that one. I thought that was funny.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. You want to go first on that one?
Yeah, I had quite a bit of, things of takeaways. Let's see. First of all, it's, of course, fear is an emotion, no doubt about it. One of the strongest, most hardwired. Yeah, I mean, it can seriously overtake every piece of your being.
Yep.
And I think that it kind of pops up a lot of times when you least expect it, I think.
Right.
In some cases, for me, it's like, oh my gosh, why am I getting, because you can go from fear to anger to, you can go through the whole gamut, but it's usually it's all because of the core emotion of fear.
Right. That is.
That's my opinion of that. Let me see if there's anything else. I don't know why I underlined something else. Oh, fear. I really struggled. Well, actually, I have a lot. So hold on, I missed a page. I think that in my own life, there's things that I've kind of held back because of fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Being in a leadership position such as what I am, I want my members to stick around. So I don't really want to, I want to lead, but yet I have to be careful about, because I have such a large group of people and there's a lot of different, views.
Yeah. That's got to be intimidating.
And so it is, because we're all type A, right? We're all very strong women.
Yep.
And it starts at the board, even at the board level. And then it goes out to all of our members, and I not to toot my own horn or anything, but when we went and had our annual meeting, which was just in, early March, I had to plan the whole annual meeting. And I guess the greatest compliment, I try to lead with a servant attitude, okay?
Yeah.
That's what I always go back to, even though I'm very opinionated. Okay?
Uh-huh.
I'm very opinionated for a lot of things. But I always go back to the fact that if I can keep my servant attitude, that maybe perhaps my opinions won't, kind of offend or be overbearing. So anyway, the greatest compliment was that these ladies said to me, you've done such a great job in balancing our new members and keeping our elder members happy as well. And to me, that was the greatest compliment. That is like, because that was my whole intention.
That is a big challenge.
So it was. And so, and it's daily. It's not like something that's going to go away. It's every decision we make.
Mm-hmm.
And so this book's really good for me. I don't always agree with everything that, from a philosophical and standpoint, but it does touch on a lot of great things.
Right, John.
Well, I take the opposite approach.
Of course you do.
Well, the last group of people that I was appointed to lead was about 145 to 150. And in the kickoff meeting, I told them they all have supervisors. If they have a problem, you make it the problem of your supervisor, and those guys on up the line. And if by the time it gets to me, they make it my problem if nobody can fix it, I will fix it. And I didn't worry about offending people. I didn't worry about anything else. I just said, this, we're going to drive forward. We're going to do this. If you can't fix it, whatever it is, move it up the line, and when it gets to me, I will fix it.
Right.
But I'm not going to.
I need to hang around you.
Well, but I mean, I'm not going to dance around somebody's feelings, because in business, I don't worry about that. If they know when they come to me to run something, to lead something, to get it done, that's going to happen. It's going to get done. And you know what? If somebody's feelings get hurt, but they get everything accomplished they wanted, they can back down out of that and realize that they did the right thing. That's just my approach. Not everybody can do that, but that's how I do it. And I haven't had any issues with pulling that off.
Right. You do tend to get things done.
I absolutely get things done.
Absolutely. One of the things that I underlined in this chapter was if tribes reward innovation and innovators are happier, then why isn't everyone doing it? And I think the reason is the same reason that people pull their punches when they're selling. The reason that they act like their phone is covered in spiders. They fear rejection, or they fear a response, or they fear people's feelings and everything else. And I think if you can put all that on the back burner and say, here's the objective, people are going to feel how they're going to feel, and how they feel about me is none of my business.
Well, and the other thing is that in the example I just stated, it was for a very large financial organization over 7 states. And during the process, I happened by where I was going to have lunch, and I met the president of the company. He asked me what my greatest fear was for what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, lunch. He said, no, I mean the project. I said, no, I was serious. My greatest fear is lunch. I said, because I got to report to the board of directors every 6 hours around the clock and get all this other stuff done. I said, I am not having time for lunch.
And neither is anybody else.
and he thought I was being funny. I said, I'm absolutely serious. He said, well, sit down, I'll buy you lunch. I said, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And brought in pizza for everybody else. And
then at the end of the thing, he said, I would never believe this would have worked. I said, I had I knew it was going to work. There were no doubts.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just amazed. But my whole approach is not one to dance around with stuff.
Right. I think, one of the biggest things that people can do is just, write the word fearless on a sticky note and stick it to your monitor. What would you do if you had no fear? And do that. And
yeah, I mean, you go forward. And if you make a mistake, do it in style and then fix it.
We do that a lot.
But it works.
True.
Because that way you don't have fear. And if you do, you certainly don't voice it.
Absolutely. Right. Okay, so page 60, the next bookmark, case studies, and they have 2 of them. One is CrossFit, which is a group with a strong leader. The other is Patients Like Me, which is a group with no leader. And I think, both of them are really interesting. But Joni, let's let you go first again.
And this is the worst one for me to go first. I don't. Okay, so the whole CrossFit thing is kind of like bizarre to me, but yeah, they definitely have a tribe
of strange people.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it kind of takes over their life, but that's okay. I don't know that I really have an opinion on this section at all.
Okay.
Nothing really, stuck out or, I don't know. I
That's
really didn't have an opinion.
That didn't strike you as, something that you have a strong response to. So, John?
Several Air Force bases have instituted a challenge, and this has become something of a tribe of people in each base. The challenge is let's see if I can remember the number, 16 hours, you can lift 1 ton of weight. So, in other words, if you picked up 1 pound, then you'd have to do it for 4,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's how many reps or how much movement of the weight. So you could do that, or you could do 100 pounds and do it 400 times. And they give you 16 hours because people come in before work and start, and they come in after work to finish. And then they get a T-shirt at the end.
You do all this for a T-shirt?
That I lifted a ton of weight.
Oh, man.
And they have some people do it in 90 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
But it's interesting because then it becomes sort of like a tribe, because all these people now are saying, I'm with these guys. I
did this,
and,
challenging thing.
So then more people want to try it. So it's just interesting.
Right. I think that is.
So when you say that, the bucket challenge comes to mind. You remember that?
Yeah, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Yeah, the Ice Bucket Challenge. That was kind of a growing tribe, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if it was a tribe, but everybody was doing it. It was like, I don't know if it was, I couldn't tell if it was the cause or just the reactions that people had that people were wanting to see. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a phenomenon that happens often enough that is not a fluke. I mean, you look at these, most cultures have some kind of an ordeal that people have to go through, or young people have to go through, in order to be considered an adult, and a lot of these tribes will, leave their kids out all night and have them hunt a deer or, whatever it is. And it gives them a feeling of pride and a feeling of belonging to have accomplished something difficult. And I think, people are kind of catching on to that and discovering it. I've been trying to figure out how to apply this more specifically to our little tribe. The problem is that everybody's business is so different and their marketing objectives are so different that it's hard to create a challenge that is really meaningful to everybody. So part of it might be that it's really, really hard to read 1 book a month with everything else that everybody has to do. But it's interesting that becomes kind of one of the glues that holds tribes together, is those ordeals or those challenges. Anything else on that section? No? Okay, we'll carry on.
No, not really. I don't know. It wasn't very engaging to me.
Okay. Page 67, the virtuous cycle versus the exclusive tribe. So, it's kind of like, is bigger better, or is small and exclusive better?
Well, it depends on what the goals are, depending on how, oh goodness, let me give you an example. Well, our group is basically, we're smaller, okay?
Right.
Our goal is not to get large. Well, our goal is to include everybody, not necessarily get large, because there's just not a large population of women who fly helicopters. There isn't, but, and then, all I want to do in the growth basically is to make sure that everybody that is a helicopter pilot is offered the opportunity.
Right.
So that's, and there is such a thing as when you go from small and you're very connected to the next step, which is kind of, we're at a pivotal point, our organization, because we're getting to almost the large side.
Yeah.
you know, because there's there's more challenges. There's also more opportunity, but we need to navigate to keep ourselves as connected as we are while we're growing the numbers.
Right. I think that's one of the really cool things about your organization is that you are not WAI and you are not NBAA. You are very specialized and you don't have an intention to grow beyond that or serve people who are not your core group. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's just but it also makes you really evaluate what your mission is. And because there's probably a lot of women who don't join our organization because maybe they don't like the name.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't sound professional to some people.
It's too much fun.
It is a fun name, and at the time, if you know the history, to the name, I mean, it was given by Mr. Bell to the originator of this organization. And unless you really know that story, there's many women, I think, that probably get poked fun of, because of that name.
Wow.
So I think that there's some challenges with the name itself. That's why a balance of putting in international women helicopter pilots beyond it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So people understand the name and they because it's a playful name.
It is. And it's funny how the littlest thing can become divisive these days. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. John.
Yeah, it has.
So what do they mean, virtuous cycle?
Virtuous cycle meaning bigger things get bigger. So size for the sake of size. As an example, you get 1,000 Facebook followers and then it becomes much, much easier to get more. There's kind of a tipping point at which big groups get bigger.
And
I don't like the name.
And like people,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So any thoughts beyond that?
No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I would say in aviation, we've always focused on the small and exclusive. And, I think there is a certain number that's the right number for any particular company or any particular group. And, it might be bigger than what you have now, but I don't think size is ever, we're not trying to be the airlines. We're not trying to serve everybody. We're not trying to just pack more people into airplanes or into our business or into our customer set. And so I'd say of the two, that would be the direction I lean.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was fascinating. All right. So next bookmark, Every Tribe is a Media Channel, page 106. This is more true now than ever, but what do you think, Joni?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's with the Facebook, everybody has their platform channel,
Yeah.
And of course LinkedIn has the same, presence basically as a, channel as in page or whatever. Is that, I didn't get completely towards the end of the book, so I didn't read this through completely. So forgive me for that, but I didn't get completely through. That's what I'm saying.
Right. It wasn't really a sequential book. It wasn't something that you have to read in order to.
Yeah, I didn't get that far.
Yeah.
I wasn't poking around. I didn't have time to read these last two bookmark information. So.
That's okay. But I know from your experience of, building your website and things and then getting those notifications and having the database behind it and all of the interaction that goes into your website, it's kind of become the hub of a tribe nowadays is, something has to be the hub, whether it's the web or the Facebook page or something, right?
Right. And what I find is a lot of people are just using, I mean, this is just an observation of other organizations, not ours, but there's some people that don't even bother with a website anymore because they use that Facebook page as their only channel, basically. I don't know. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and there is a risk with that because whenever you're using somebody's third-party software, they might change the rules or change the way it works, or entirely disappear your organization if they decide for some reason you've violated their terms of service, which is 75 pages long and nobody's ever read the whole thing.
True.
You're depending on something that you don't have control of. That's the only problem that I have with, I think, social media are great for extending your reach, but I don't think it should ever be the center. I don't think it should ever be the hub of any tribe.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
Well, when it comes to social media, I'm not at all sure what to think.
You're not a fan.
Not really.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure. Having read part of the book, but every tribe is a media channel. Give me a break.
Well, not every media channel is a tribe.
No, the other one, the first one.
Yeah.
How do they mean that?
Well, and you read the book same as I did, but my interpretation of it, given that plus my experience, is that if you're not communicating, you don't have a tribe. So you have to have a basis for communication, whether that's email or whether that is a newsletter or whether that is a phone tree or a web page or something.
To me, media channel has only to do with marketing.
I disagree. I think media can be anything. It's any media of communication.
You can certainly disagree.
Okay. Cool. All right, carrying on. Page 146. What exactly should you do now? This is at the end of the book, and my takeaway from that, I'll take the liberty of going first and then ask you guys what you think. But this book was more inspiration than instruction, and he doesn't tell you what exactly you should do now, which is kind of the irony of that chapter. In fact, this whole book was kind of along the lines of a couple of the others that we've read that were more inspiration than instruction, which is nice, like Rework that we read in January. It's great, and it gives you some ideas, and if you can apply some of those ideas, that's great, but it's not really intended to give you do this now and do this later. But I read this probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was one of the things that kind of brought our company to where we are now, introducing our customers to each other, which is almost unheard of in marketing. Most marketing companies don't want their customers to talk to each other because then they'll compare notes and they'll, start helping each other instead of going to the marketing company and getting more money for every little thing. So it was, to me, kind of a big inspiration, and it did change the way I do business the first time I read it. But it's not intended as a manual, right? So I think this is kind of a disingenuous topic in the back of the book. But
he basically says you have a choice, make it.
Yeah. Are you going to be a leader or are you not? And if you're not going to be a leader, then what business do you have running a company?
Well, there are several people throughout our country that are running companies who are not leaders. And I wonder how sometimes that those companies actually survive.
Yeah, that's true.
But they do, in spite of themselves.
That is true. Anything to add on that, Joni? Or?
Well, I do have, I guess, maybe a comment and then perhaps a question.
Yeah.
My father-in-law was, he was an entrepreneur and created a company, basically that it was no one else was doing. And so, but he always said that it was really difficult. If you had an idea for a company, you then went out perhaps and got people to make sure it was running effectively. after that. Because entrepreneurs aren't necessarily good managers,
Right.
They're just more creative thinking. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are your, I guess that's kind of where this comes from. So
Right.
it made me think of that.
And he was smart in his approach. The problem nowadays is that if you go hire somebody to run the company for you while you do what you like, is that they will take over. And I mean, you look at a lot of the celebrities who have lost money because they've hired managers to manage their money and their professional lives, and they didn't bother to look at it, and they put them almost to the brink of bankruptcy. That happens with a lot of companies these days.
Right. Or Steve Jobs.
Well, he didn't leave the company. He just knew that he needed people that would be better than him in certain areas.
I get it.
So, he never left the company.
Totally get that. Yeah, exactly. Like Steve Jobs, I mean, he was really, really good at starting things and then getting his butt kicked out because he was disagreeing with people and getting in the way of the management of the company. And then they brought him back because they needed the ideas, they needed his brain, and you got to have both.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's also what my, father-in-law, and in fact, he ended up, selling to his competitor, and, and his, now it's history. But, but he was the one that created it. It was his brainchild. So pretty impressive.
Yeah, he must have been an amazing guy. That would have been cool to hear that story.
Yeah, I mean, it was accounts payable auditing. Nobody was doing it.
Wow, no.
And yeah, pretty cool. His name is Howard Schultz, and it was Howard Schultz and Associates is the company that if you want to ever do a search.
Ah, interesting. Yeah.
Now, there's also a Howard Schultz in the coffee business, but it's not that Howard Schultz.
You can't imagine how many John Williamses there are.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Okay, so next month you're getting a surprise. Instead of Marketing Above the Noise, which is what we were planning to send out, we couldn't get enough copies of that. So rather than have some people get their copies late and complain,
or not at all,
we ended up getting Mark Schaefer's The Content Code, which also has really good reviews on Amazon. So it might end up being actually a better choice. Sometimes things work out for a reason. So we'll see.
They always work out for a reason. Sometimes we don't know what it is till we've done.
Exactly. So this is one that is in.
What was his last Schaefer?
Sorry?
Mark Schaefer.
His last name is Schaefer? Mark Schaefer. Okay.
Yep, Mark W. Schaefer, The Content Code, and it will be coming in the mail this week. It's not one that I have read before, which is unusual for the book club. Usually they're ones that I've read multiple times, but this is one that had really good reviews on Amazon, and I ran it through a couple of people that I know who have read it that really liked it. So we'll see. We're taking a chance. All right, so that's it for this week. So go sell more stuff, right?
America needs the business, said Zig Ziglar.
Exactly.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you for coming in.
Thanks,
We'll talk
Joni.
to you later.
Good to talk to you.
Okay.
Bye.
Nice to talk to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the best place to learn what really works in sales and marketing in the aviation industry. Remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a rating.
You know you could.